Welcome to the College Football Bros, the podcast ranking Big Ten quarterbacks. And now, here are your hosts, Michael, Ryan, and Trey Newman.
Welcome to the College Football Bros podcast. I am Michael Newman, and I'm joined by the brother who smells like a plumber.
Oh, wow. Thanks. That's me, Ryan Newman.
You're welcome. I'm also joined by the other brother who's a work of art.
That would be me, Trey Newman. Now, Michael, let's not have a Rocky podcast.
Oh, great. Way to join in the fun, Trey. We are on to episode 3 of Quarterback Rankings Week. This is the Big Ten. And before we get into it, I want to remind everyone to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CFB Bros. And let us know throughout the week what you think of our lists. We want to hear your biggest disagreements. But don't yell. Please don't yell at us.
No,
Michael can't take it.
I can't. I really can't. I almost went crazy over the Arkansas head coach
Sam Pittman.
Why does Sam Pittman's name always escape me?
Well, I won't say why.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's get to number 14 here with the Big Ten.
All right, number 14 from Rutgers, Art Sitkowski. Unfortunately, it's become a yearly tradition for Art. But this really isn't a knock on Art or Rutgers, because I'm higher on Schiano and Rutgers in the future than maybe most are. But in year one of his era, it's still going to be a struggle. The Big Ten is a beast, especially in the East, and it's just really hard to make a strong case for Sitkowski to be up a few spots given his track record.
Yeah, and we can't forget about the Nebraska transfer coming in, Noah Vedral. He has a chance. I mean, he's played a little bit at Nebraska and he was okay. A little bit same thing at UCF, so he could compete for that job.
Yeah, you got Johnny Langan, who played last year, obviously not well, but yeah, I guess we'll go with Art. And honestly, last year before he requested to redshirt, he wasn't horrible.
It was better for sure.
Oh yeah, it wasn't
better.
hard to be better than the freshman year of 4 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. But yeah. Maybe with the coaching of Sean Gleason at offensive coordinator, I really like that hire. Maybe he can be better.
Fair. I think so too. Okay, let's move on to number 13 here. Yes, Rocky Lombardi, Michigan State. He's going to have some stiff competition. I think Theo Day may give him a run for his money. He may come in and save the day.
Not if Peyton is a thorn in his side.
Oh, wow.
Peyton Thorne, the redshirt freshman, also in the race.
So there you go. There's kind of the QB spot there for Sparty. I guess we'll go with Lombardi just because he does have the most experience, even though it's bad experience. But man, they're going to have the new offensive system, so you're hoping that is able to shake things up a bit, because it's just been so ugly the past couple of years. I mean, it was definitely a 13 spot for me.
Yeah, I think if you're a Michigan State fan, you're hoping that it's not Rocky Lombardi. You're probably hoping for Peyton Thorne or Theo Day, just because you haven't seen them yet. You haven't seen them struggle.
Yeah, Lombardi, he had that first game he had a year or two ago against Purdue. It was like lights out, and then ever since then, it's just been way downhill. Sub 50% passer, and just in terms of our rankings, the fact that we don't know who the clear QB is, and no matter kind of who it is, it's going to be tough to grade. But Mel Tucker has his work cut out in year one.
Yeah. Okay. Getting to number 12, it is Josh Jackson, senior quarterback at Maryland. And obviously, Talia Tungavaloa, if he gets a waiver, is going to be in the race. Lance Lejeune, the 4-star redshirt freshman, is also right there. So I don't think Jackson is going to have a very long leash. Maybe this ranking is a little bit harsh because he did have a decent run at Virginia Tech. And last year
he was like, okay, decent, I'll say, but it was maybe decent. He wasn't.
Yeah, and the second year when the start was not so bad, but he last year was awful, obviously for Maryland. It started out well and then just went way downhill. He struggled with injuries. He struggled behind one of the worst offensive lines in the Power Five. So there's excuses, but 47.3% completions is hard to ignore.
Yeah, I think he'll start. I think he'll get the nod, but I don't think he'll ultimately be the guy that finishes, whether it's Tagovailoa. But I just don't think Maryland's not going to be very good. I don't expect them to compete for a bowl game again. So I think they'll go with the younger guy towards the end of the year.
Okay.
All right, moving on to number 11, Spencer Petras of Iowa. Iowa just seems to have a system kind of similar to Wisconsin, where every year their QB just tends to do just enough, and in some cases, the numbers tend to be better than what you would kind of think. They're usually pretty efficient, get the job done, don't always move the needle in terms of rankings like we're doing. But Ferentz spoke pretty highly of him in the offseason, and I don't see why he can't lead Iowa to some more success in the West.
Yeah, I was the highest on him. I had him at 8th, and it's tough to gauge. Obviously, we haven't seen a whole lot out of him, but he was a solid recruit coming out of California a few years ago, and he's going to be his 3rd year now at Iowa, so he's going to have the system down, plenty of time to get acclimated and get in tune with that offense wants. And I just think he fits the mold of the Iowa quarterback. And I mean, I'm not saying he's going to come in and outperform what Nathan Stanley did for a few years there, but Nathan Stanley wasn't like he was incredible. He'd had some good seasons, but I just don't anticipate much of a drop off. I think he'll be able to, he's got some weapons to use. And he has a big arm. He's got a talented arm, so he can stretch the field real well. I would be surprised if he wasn't pretty good. If I was, that's kind of the way I would almost looking at it.
Yeah, he might be too low here, because I would agree that production wise, I wouldn't expect a huge drop off, because in large part because the receiving core this year, I think is really good for him. So he's got some pretty good talent around him. And he's also, he's not guaranteed to be the starter. They got the redshirt freshman, Alex Padilla, and then the true freshman, Deuce Hogan, coming in from, I believe, Texas, had some good offers. So there's some decent options.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's move on to number 10. We got Brandon Peters. Yep. So he's going to be the guy this year, even though, Isaiah Williams a couple of years ago, or maybe it was about a year ago, he was big-time recruit, 4-star, played a lot. But Peters is going to be the guy. Lovey has pretty much stated he's looking forward to building off of the first year, and, he's super important to the team, whatever. So, but Isaiah Williams is still going to get reps. There's really no doubt about that. He was okay. He wasn't good by last year, but especially if you just look at his conference numbers, half of his passing TDs came in the first 3 non-conference games. So, and those were some really horrible teams. They actually lost one game. They lost Eastern Michigan. But, I was thinking maybe Isaiah Williams might overtake him at some point this year, but I don't know. You take a look at their schedule again. You got their non-conference. Listen to this: Illinois State, UConn, and Bowling Green. All come to
that's
Illinois.
Great scheduling, right?
That is
there.
the worst. That might be the worst schedule in the entire country.
It's pretty rough.
It's horrible. So,
that's what Illinois should be doing. If
I know, I'm not blaming them. It's just pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And then their first Big Ten game is who, Rutgers. So they very well could be 4-0 going to Lincoln, Nebraska. So
wow.
Yeah.
Top 10 Illinois.
Well, I'm just saying, I was thinking maybe they might bench Peters if he struggles, but if you're 4-0, it's going to take a lot for
Lovey's beard should be grown in real nice by then.
Well, he cut it.
Yeah, that's true.
I know, but by that time it should be in season form. I don't know. The concern for me with Peters is, notably he had a couple of concussions last year, so that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. But I really just don't know how much better Peters can get, and that, for that matter, Illinois was very fortunate to get to a bowl game last year. I understand they beat Wisconsin, but it was very ugly the way they did it. They had that huge comeback against Michigan State. they had some fortunate breaks, I guess, that went their way, and I just don't see a repeat or at least exceeding that much more.
Yeah. I think this is probably a pretty good spot for Peters, because he did have the best season an Illinois quarterback has had in at least 5 years. But unfortunately, that's not saying much. He was 101st in the nation in yards per pass
Improved from
attempt,
MJ
so.
Rivers.
Yeah, so he's fine given what Illinois quarterbacks have done. It's a step up.
Yep.
Okay, number 9 here. We have Dylan McCaffrey at Michigan, and obviously he's the more mobile option in the quarterback race there. The other guy he's competing with mainly is the sophomore Joe Milton, who is known more for his strong arm. And I think whoever wins this battle is going to be pretty good, because they're both former 4-stars. They've both been with the program for a while. And Trey, you and I were higher on McCaffrey, but we both had him at 8th. Ryan, you were the lowest at 11.
Yeah, I'm not high on McCaffrey.
What's the deal?
What's your
deal?
You're behind. You have him behind Peters.
Yeah, I'm not high on McCaffrey here. I don't think he's going to be consistent enough through the air to become a solid quarterback. I know he's got some athleticism and he's got some wheels, but I just don't. I don't know. From what I've seen of him, wasn't super impressed with his arm. So I think Joe Milton will eventually be the guy there. Whether or not he starts right away this year is I still think Milton will eventually be the guy. He was pretty raw coming in, but he has the higher ceiling of the two.
Wow. I don't know. I mean, I've just heard some comments in the offseason. Again, it's coach speak, but Harbaugh has spoken highly on McCaffrey and mentioned his love of his competitiveness and fearlessness. Yeah, you're going to hear that a lot from a lot of coaches, but I just feel like,
actually Patterson was amazing.
No,
Patterson wasn't that great.
I would totally agree with
Dylan
that. I feel like they kind of underachieved with Patterson, but maybe Gaddis's offense now can get some new life, as it really wasn't totally blossoming with Patterson. So we'll see. Maybe a change is good.
Yeah, I think the Gaddis offense is going to be more quarterback friendly than what we've seen from Michigan previously.
All right.
Okay, moving on from Michigan, we're going to go to Purdue. Jack Plummer. Purdue just had, we've documented on this podcast, they had a disaster of a season last year, but I'm confident in Brom. Plummer had some ups and downs as a freshman last year, but remember, he was thrust into the role when the quarterbacks were just dropping like flies there. The whole team was dropping like flies.
Yeah.
He still threw for,
of course.
Yeah,
missed most of the season, and
when your primary weapon is gone, it's going to hurt anybody. But he still threw for over 1,600 yards in his limited time. With Rondale Moore back this season, I'm expecting Purdue and Plummer to have a little bit more of a bounce back with Brom.
Yeah, I agree, and it's not a guarantee that Plummer gets the start. You got the junior Aiden O'Connell, and then maybe the UCLA grad transfer Austin Burton. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't too discouraged with Plummer given the situation with the injuries, and given that Purdue's offensive line gave up the 10th most pressures of any team in the country. So it just wasn't a good position for him to be in. But yeah, Brom develops quarterbacks, so I think next year will be a lot better.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Brom factor. He's great at what he does, and he Plummer did have a couple of really good games in the middle of the year against Iowa and Maryland back to back. He had some pretty darn good games, so I think the potential's there for him, and I think he could take a pretty big leap this year once everything finally gets a little more consistent around him.
All right,
number 7, we got Peyton Ramsey. Huge get here for Northwestern. Coming from Indiana, and I think we obviously all would be shocked if he wasn't the starter from day one there. It's hard not to be, considering what he's coming into. His stats, if you look last year at Indiana, they were very, very good. 70% completion percentage, over 8 yards per attempt, and he's obviously got some wheels to him too. He's a tough kid. Now, I mean, there's no way he's going to be able to match his numbers at Indiana with this offense at Northwestern.
Right.
They're not really asking him to, and nobody should expect that. They just don't have the weapons. But I would be surprised if they didn't have a huge jump in QB play this coming year, because I like Ramsey. I think he's pretty solid. I think he was impressive even before this past year with Kalen DeBoer, even the year before that at Indiana. I thought he's been good for a while.
Yeah, I mean, if last year was the only year we had, I think you would argue that he should be higher on this list, and he certainly could. I think the 2 years before, when he played a lot, is my one concern. No, he wasn't bad, but he was, I guess, kind of average. Certainly wasn't nearly as good as he was last year. He took a big step his junior year, and we've talked about this before, but I attribute that a lot to Kalen DeBoer, their offensive coordinator. He came in, and I mean, he's just, I think he's a rising star. He's of course now the head coach at Fresno State, but yeah, I mean, I still like Ramsey.
This is the case that we've talked about this week of kind of judging a quarterback based on the situation he's in, because if I just look at it in a tunnel and I just looked at Peyton Ramsey alone, I might have him higher on this list. But then when I factor in the fact that he's going to that Northwestern offense, that's what kind of made me check myself a little bit and keep him here, because it's just really hard for me to envision Ramsey making that much of a difference, like to take Northwestern from the cellar in the Big Ten in terms of offense to like the top half. I just don't see it happening. But that's not slighting Ramsey. I like Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to number 6. There must be some mistake because he should be number 1, but it's Adrian Martinez, quarterback for Nebraska, and he's our pick to beat out Luke McCaffrey for the starting job. And I am the highest, actually, which is rare. I'm usually not, you know, drinking the Kool-Aid for Nebraska, but I had him 4th. Ooh. I acknowledge I could have easily put him as low as 7th or 8th, but taking the glass half full here. So, and actually, you know, I will say that I looked at Athlon. They had Martinez 4th in their Big Ten rankings, and 24/7 Sports had him 5th. So I was kind of surprised. I was actually kind of in line with some of the national opinions. But here's my rationale. So freshman year, as a highly recruited 4-star recruit, 7.5 yards per attempt, 65% completions, over a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, over 600 yards rushing. It was a good year. Like, we've seen it. We saw him play very well, and he was just a true freshman. And this year, with, you know, hopefully an improved offensive line, everyone back there, better injury luck than he had last year, I think he's going to bounce back. Not to Heisman levels, obviously, but I think he'll be pretty good.
Yeah. I think if you actually look at his stats from this past year, it wasn't as bad as you might have thought. It was okay.
That's true. You know, it's true.
But I think the main drop off, obviously, you kind of mentioned injuries, but it was just, yes, he had injuries. The team had injuries. But I think the talent, though, was just significantly worse. And there wasn't a single player that really could stretch the field vertically. Plus, all the receivers were like my height, 5'8", maybe. There just wasn't anything really to work with. A lot of those things seem to have been addressed. At least the receivers, they brought in the number 1 overall JUCO wide receiver, Omar Manning, who's 6'4", 220ish. He's supposed to be, pretty explosive player. And then they got another highly rated 4-star wide receivers, true freshman. So then add him to Wan'Dale Robinson, returning running back. All 5 are starters on the O-line. It would be surprising if he didn't have a pretty significantly better year than last year.
Yeah, and if we'll get into it soon, but comparing him to the next few guys on our list, as far as potential wise, I mean, he has every right to be in the top third of the Big Ten if he has a season that mirrors that freshman year.
Yeah, he could shoot up the rankings. It's in there. It's in there.
It's just where Ryan and I are kind of in that boat where it's like, now we just kind of want to see it.
Yeah. I feel like we've been very positive here, so we've got to really address the negative. Like,
fumbles
are a huge issue, and doesn't.
If your last name is Martinez and you're a quarterback and you play for Nebraska, you're going to fumble the ball a lot.
Yep. So there's definitely some bust factor here, but
yes,
we'll see.
All right, moving on to Sean Clifford of Penn State at number 5. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows that I myself, I'm very high. I'm usually high on Penn State because I love James Franklin. And I expect Clifford to improve, but the problem with him is I don't really know how high his ceiling is. Looking at last year, he started 8-0, but it wasn't really all because of him. He still ended up completing overall 60% of his passes, 23-7 touchdown to interception ratio. But if you really look back at the game log, he was pretty subpar against the superior competition. So if he can take over a game this upcoming season early on, like a Michigan or a Virginia Tech, then to me, he'll start to validate his higher ranking and could maybe even take Penn State to that next level.
I mean, they keep finishing in the top 10, but yeah, the next level is playoff, I guess, which is
they want to be in the
playoff, I guess, is kind of your point, I guess. But I feel like he's a little underappreciated. Maybe he had a pretty darn good year last year. If you go back the year before, Trace McSorley's senior year, Clifford had a better passing statistics than McSorley did. McSorley brought a little more, obviously, on the ground, but I don't know. He wasn't even necessarily supposed to be the guy. Tommy Stevens was always, we thought, was going to be the guy coming in. And Clifford was kind of taken by surprise. And I thought he did really well. So yeah, I had him 4th, which I mean isn't much higher, but I think it's pretty good.
I think I'm more in line with Trey's opinion. To your point about the game log, in the final 10 games of the season, Clifford had 60% completions only twice. So just, I don't know. He needs to take that next step if Penn State really wants to be a true playoff contender. Obviously, the defense is going to be so great that maybe even if he doesn't take a step, they've got a shot. But yeah, you'd like to see him get better. And one stat that I read was Pro Football Focus graded him with more turnover-worthy passes than big-time throws. So again, a subjective criteria, but something you'd like to see improve.
All right. Well, let's move on to number 4 here on our list. Michael Penix. So I had him 5th. I had him just behind actually Sean Clifford. And I was actually pretty close to putting Penix behind Martinez actually as well. So here's why. He had good stats, no doubt. Not amazing, but they were good. He played in 6 games this past year. 5 of those games were against the following teams: Eastern Illinois, Ball State, Maryland, Northwestern, and Rutgers. So you got by far the worst 3 teams in the Big Ten, a MAC school that had a losing record, and an FCS school. So I want to see it versus decent teams. They won 5 of those games. And the game they lost, they actually lost to Michigan State. And Michigan State went on to lose 5 in a row after that. So before I put him ahead of a guy like Sean Clifford, who took his team to a top 10 finish or anything, I need to see it against quality competition. And, he does lose Kalen DeBoer, so that's going to be a factor. So I don't know. He just played against such subpar competition that I can't justify putting him ahead of Sean Clifford.
All right. I mean, I guess you make a pretty good argument there, but I just think the numbers he put, even though it was against bad competition, the numbers he put up are just kind of hard to ignore. 69% completions, 8.7 yards per attempt. He's a good runner when he chooses to. And just the fact that he was ahead of Peyton Ramsey, who we all think is very good. So I think that says something about his upside, his skill level.
Of all the quarterbacks in the conference, Penix is probably the one I'm most excited just to watch. Like I want to tune in and see what he does. And I hope that I hope he can overcome some of those hurdles that you were talking about, Ryan, and transform into a good quarterback for Indiana.
Okay. So we are to the top 3 now. Number 3 is from Wisconsin, Jack Coan. And I was the lowest on him. I honestly was probably too low. I had him 6th. But my thinking for putting guys like Penix and Ramsey ahead of him was they were in less talented offenses than Coan was. A lot worse offensive line in terms of pass protection. They didn't have the luxury of Jonathan Taylor taking away most of the attention of the defense. And yet still those quarterbacks performed roughly as well as Coan, even though in Penix's case it was a small sample size. But yeah, that was my thinking. I mean, there's not much negative to say about Coan. He was his efficiency is hard to argue against, but he's in a good
Yeah.
situation.
I knew you were going to make that argument about the supporting cast, and that's why you would put him low. Well, I knew somebody would, but I got 2 words for you, Michael. Or
Alex Hornibrook?
Exactly, Alex Hornibrook.
That's a good point.
Case closed, man. He was terrible. Alex Hornibrook
Well,
was terrible.
okay. I mean, he threw too many picks.
He was terrible.
Okay,
We
I think
That's part of being a quarterback. Like,
the other thing that we need to mention is Graham Mertz will apply a little bit of potential pressure in the offseason, but Coan obviously seems to be the guy. It's weird looking at Coan. He doesn't really intimidate a defense, and my initial thought before kind of researching any of these quarterbacks was I would have him much lower, but for me, he just kind of fell into the upper third.
That's kind of the way I was too, Trey.
I did not think highly of him, but I mean, 70% completions, 18 to 5 touchdown to interception ratio, and he kind of got the job done. He never like lit it up. Like he wasn't having many 300-yard games, but he doesn't have that NFL talent, but he's safe. And with the Wisconsin system that's in place, that's why he just fell into place for me.
Okay.
Yep. It's not like a ringing endorsement.
Yeah. I think number 2 would take kind of a big step up here.
Yeah. Tanner Morgan, hailing from Minnesota. We all had him second. Almost 3,000 yards last year. He helped Minnesota have one of their best seasons, at least in recent history. He had 180 quarterback rating, and that only rated just behind Justin Fields. You add that to the fact that they return their entire offensive line, and the offense itself last year put up over 34 points a game. I mean, do either of you guys have concerns about Morgan?
No, not anymore. I mean, I did going into last year, of course. Everybody did, but after the year he put up, I mean, he had a great supporting cast. You look at Bateman and Tyler Johnson. He does lose Tyler Johnson, which will hurt, but it's not like he's left with nothing. You already told us the whole line comes back, so maybe his numbers might dip a little bit because last year was a pretty special year. Things just seem to fall into place, but he's still going to be really good. It was an easy number 2.
In last year, there were 4 quarterbacks who threw 30 touchdowns and had over 10 yards per pass attempt. It was Joe Burrow, Tua, Jalen Hurts, and Tanner Morgan. So pretty good company.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's surprise. Number 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Justin Fields. We kind of already talked about this, and I've kind of already mentioned this before, but I think he even exceeded the most optimistic of Buckeye fans. Like, I don't think anybody could have anticipated how good he really was, and how, especially through the air, how efficient and precise he was. I mean, he made them forget about Dwayne Haskins like that. I mean, Dwayne had an unbelievable year, and Fields was maybe better.
I think he was. Yeah.
Yeah. Haskins was great. He just didn't have the defense really the defense took a big jump. But anyways, he was very, very good. And he obviously adds a little bit to the ground. And if I had to pick a Heisman front runner right now, Fields would be my number 1.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna bring that up. So you like Fields?
I'd like him over Lawrence.
Yeah. Fields and Lawrence are the 2 co-favorites. Some places Fields is alone as a favorite. But what about you, Trey? Who would you bet if they had the same odds? Who are you taking to win the Heisman?
I'm going to go Fields because remember last year, Lawrence there was a period where he almost kind of disappeared, even though Clemson was really good. I just am confident that with Ryan Day's offense, Fields is just going to continue to put up huge numbers, and they'll have a few more of those big games in the Big Ten, and they'll be favored to win those. So I guess I would lean Fields as well.
Yeah. And I brought this up in I think our ACC episode, but Fields wasn't even totally healthy last year. His knee was a concern. So if he's 100% this year, I mean, it's hard to imagine him being better, but he'll certainly be quicker, and that's one of his biggest weapons. So, yep, he's a clear number 1 here. Okay, let's get some overall thoughts here on the Big 12 quarterbacks. Trey, what do you think? Oh, that's Big 10. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny for as good as the Big Ten has been. and how good they are. There's a lot of quarterbacks there that are kind of boom or bust. Like if you look at like 3 through 9, it wouldn't surprise me if any of those guys flopped, but it also wouldn't surprise me if some of those guys broke out. There's a lot of room for. There's not as much consistency there compared to maybe some of the other conferences we've looked at so far.
I'll say I think there's just maybe more question marks around him. Like you could point to something about really. I mean, Jack Coan's solid. You kind of know what you're going to get with him, but 4 on down, you can poke holes. In any
So
of those
list some of the guys that you're talking about there.
Who that you can poke holes on? Jack Plummer, Dylan McCaffrey, Adrian Martinez. There's some weaknesses in their game. Adrian Martinez had a really rough year. Jack Plummer, not that great, but we're thinking potential. Dylan McCaffrey, we haven't seen it. I'm not convinced Michigan's offense is going to be that great. Michael Penix, I already kind of made the argument. He only did it against really subpar competition. Brandon Peters. I mean, Illinois got so lucky and he wasn't even that good. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. I like Trey. I thought for as good of a conference as it is, not the strongest group of QBs overall.
Yeah. Who on the list here do you think has the highest potential to rise? Because for me, it's at number 9, Dylan McCaffrey.
Yeah, I would agree.
He's in an offense that has a lot of talent, and he was a highly recruited player, so wouldn't surprise me if he's top 5.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, if you're talking the other actual spots, yeah, I guess I.
And then in terms of
agree.
Potential lower in that the last from 6 through 14, the 2 that you mentioned McCaffrey, but then like between Martinez and Petras, like Petras for sure could make a leap just because he's so far down there, but yeah, it's a mixed bag in there where you just don't know what you're going to get. There's a lot of hope and potential, but we shall see.
All right. There you go. There you have it for the Big Ten. Let us know what you think of our rankings in the comments on YouTube. Also, there. Let us know on social media. Again, Twitter and Instagram at CFB Bros. And we will talk to you tomorrow when we cover our home conference here on the West Coast.
Champions.
Can you say it like Bill Walton, Ryan?
The Conference of Champions.
I'll give it a C. C plus.
Yeah.
I don't want to try it, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Talk to you tomorrow.
You've been listening to the College Football Bros. If you have any questions for the next podcast, email them to collegefootballbros@gmail.com. To keep up with the brothers on social media, like them on Facebook at College Football Bros, follow them on Instagram at College Football Bros, and for their commentary on Saturdays, follow them on Twitter at CFB Bros. Thanks for listening.